Regular meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for October 8, 2013 order. Will everybody stand and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. The agenda is before us. Are there any additions or deletions by fellow board members or staff?
I'm just going to add under Trustees, Stark County Township Association.
Chairman, I want to delete Road 2 at this time due to a difference in the fund that we're using for it.
Which one again, James? Sorry.
Road 2.
And I would add under concerns of trustees, Zimber ditch, just so I know we talked, just so we can get it on the record. Put Zimber ditch homeowners. Yeah, just for the record, Eric notifies he is running a little bit behind our law director, so if we have anything that's going to require his attention, I know there's one item on our finished business, we will move that down accordingly to wait
But
for
we'll
him
move
to
it
get
to
here.
law director. Unfinished business, number 1,
That's fine.
foreclosures to law director.
And if he gets here sooner, we can move back up.
Okay.
Okay, any other changes? All right. Okay, the agenda will stand then with changes. I know there are several people here in the audience that are here to address some issues with the Edgewood Golf Course. We do have a portion of our agenda under concerns of citizens. Actually, it's public speaks. So we will allow you to come up and ask questions. Only thing that we ask you at that time, when we get to that part of the agenda, is to come forward to the mic, because our meetings are audio tape and videotape, so that we can get everything clear for the record. Okay, we'll go to the sheriff's report. There's nothing on here ahead of time. Does anybody have anything? Administration? Does anybody in the audience have anything specifically for the sheriff's representatives? Okay, then we'll close the sheriff's report. We'll go to the detective report.
And Detective Conant, would you have a large audience tonight? If you can just introduce yourself and just, I'm not sure, this is maybe your third report.
Yes.
Something new we've implemented, but I'll let you.
Hey everybody, I'm Detective William Conant with the Stark County Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for about 13 years now. I've been detective from Plain Township since about June 20th. So if you guys need anything or have anything you want to address with me, feel free to call me at the Sheriff's Office at 430-3819. All right. And good evening, everyone. Our numbers for September, a little increased in our calls of service with 888 calls for service, 72 crash reports. I think we were up from 53 of August. Our crash reports with injury, we were up one from August at 13. Our alarms were up 97 from 88 in August. Traffic stops were 117 with 108 citations. Our arrests were actually down by 7. We had 52 arrests with 24 summons and 28 bookings. So, looks like I think the increase in calls for service was probably from the increase in the crash reports. It was almost 20. We were up 19 crash reports.
the citations typically related to just their speed?
Speed and, and various, I'm assuming, because, I mean, if you look, August, we had 160 stops and 94 citations, so the percentage of citations, the stops was actually lower than September. We were 117 and 108, so I'm sure a lot of us, I won't say a lot of them, but a majority of them that made the percentage higher was directly also related with the crashes. ACDA, and various involvement with the crashes and speed. So, always speed. Any other questions? All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that will close the detective's report. We'll go to the fiscal officer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the payment of the pending warrants in the amount of $650,961.74. It's attached here to and made part of the minutes.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the payment of the regular payroll amount not to exceed $220,000.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the payment for the following medical claims as provided by healthcare.
I also move authority to pay.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report.
Can we go to 5?
Fiscal Officer number 5, it's a request for a resolution to certify the tax rates as provided by the auditor.
Also move.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the following transfers. I'd just like to correct at the bottom there, the second part where it says road should say miscellaneous line.
What was that?
Which one?
Just the title. There's 2 roads. That 14806
Got it.
is a diamond.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
That was Mr. Geovasis, correct, for the second?
Yeah.
I did.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for authorization to request the additional amended certificate for additional revenues that were received this year.
Also move.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize a refund in the amount of $1,397.96 for the overpayment of man hours for the Hall of Fame City Challenge to be paid from the funds as attached.
Also move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And that will conclude the fiscal officer's report for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Flex. We'll go to the administrator's report. Mrs. Campbell?
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to approve the change order request for the Schneider Park restroom water line and to authorize payment to the St. Clair Palace Group in an amount not to exceed $1,450 from Fund 21A04D.
So there's your one.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, just to inform the board, a portion of the water line that was installed as a part of the park construction that feeds the dog park was going to be under the restroom. That's why the change order. Also, there was no shut-off valve to turn off the restroom and the dog park separately, because we will be doing a winter shutdown for the restroom. However, our dog park is open year-round, so that's why the change order.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Thank you. Administrator number 2 is a resolution to pay the United States Postal Service for the postage for the winter 2013 newsletter from Fund 01A26J in an amount not to exceed $3,000.
Also moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
And Administrator 3 is to pay Pinnacle Press for the printing of the 2013 Plain Township Winter Newsletter in an amount not to exceed $3,000 and to authorize payment from Fund 01A26K.
So,
Also moved.
second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrative report.
Thank you, Mrs. Campbell. We'll go to the fire department. Chief Schneider.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the monthly report.
Chief, is there a spike in the activity just back and forth between us and Jackson? Those numbers are a little higher than you usual, but
Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason with it. It just varies. And, during the holidays, during the Hall of Fame stuff, and we did some more, visual drills through there in August, in September.
Well, a lot of those numbers are also skewed by the automatic response, not the mutual aid response, because,
Those we go to the Regency Plan.
yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, there could be at times because of where they respond to us over in Whipple versus where we respond to, there's a lot more activity sometimes, so.
If you remember, we did, realigned some of that response to them. They're actually doing a little more than what they had in the past. All Whipple, I remember.
Anybody have any other questions? Let's go to number 2, Chief.
Okay. Item number 2 is it's a change order. It's a resolution for a change order, Martin Hampton, to install a pressure reducing valve. I spoke to the board a week and a half ago about that, the new fire station.
Also move on fire number 2.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize a purchase for equipment from Best Buy for audio and video equipment for the new station.
I also moved on fire 3.
Second, Mr. Hawes. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
I just want to point out that Rob Swimmers did a lot of legwork over the past 2 or 3 months, getting pricing and back and forth phone calls, that you try to make sure we get the best price from different vendors and the different quotes that were solicited. So I know you spent a lot of time on that. I thank you for that. Then item number 4 is a resolution to authorize a purchase and payment for home appliances for the new station.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
And Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Chief. We'll go to the road department. Mr. Essino?
Mr. Chairman, item number one, and the only thing on the agenda is our monthly report for September.
Joe, just for a question, is preliminary studies or anything from the speed trailer and Firestone come back that show anything, or?
Yes,
Yes.
Tonic has those.
A lot of speeding going?
A good amount, yes. We've increased our activity on that road,
Okay.
especially in the driveway. We've had units there, and I think for the most part, when the units have been there, they've been able to at least make a stop or two in regard to speeding vehicles coming through there. So we looked at the numbers and trying to get a little better time frame of getting through there, especially in the mornings. Seems like the mornings.
The mornings are busier than the afternoons? Okay.
The speed buddy's out there again this
All
morning.
right.
Joe, coming back to your, we said road crews will continue trimming trees. We're doing what we, didn't our guys go special classes learning how to make sure we're trimming those trees properly?
Yes, they do. Right. Anything that's hanging out in the roadway where trucks or buses can hit,
We're doing them, we're going in the right way. Because you remember, we had a resident complain one time.
Yeah, they took that good class, and everyone's up to speed.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Joe. Go to the zoning department.
Gentlemen, before you, zoning number one is the monthly report for September. And I would like to point out that last month a question was asked as to how many new residential permits we have gone through, and last year at this time we had 19, today we have 55. So nearly 3 times the increase.
Township seems type of growth activity.
It's been fairly steady all year. In multiple subdivisions.
See lots of stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Zoning number 2, we have 4 nuisance abatements this evening.
I'm going to move on zoning 2A through D.
Second those. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And Mr. Gevasis?
Yes.
Zoning number 3 is a resolution to accept the resignation of Mr. Todd Galloway. Todd was a member of our zoning commission, and he has taken a new position and moved to Denver, Colorado.
Well, with regrets, we'll accept it. Please make sure on behalf of the board that Mr. Galloway's services acknowledged and we're grateful for it.
Will do.
Okay, let's go. Is there a resolution?
Yes.
Well, I will so move it. I'll second. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Gevasis?
Yes.
And zoning number 4, before you, you have 18 resolutions regarding the Moving Ohio Forward program. These resolutions will authorize notification of property owners regarding the possible demolition of their properties. We will be posting then the legal notice in the paper and give 30 days notice to individuals to get hold of us and move forward on this project.
Denny, there's one property on here that is stricken through.
That was an error, Attorney General, because we caught it too late, unfortunately. That property was initially on the list, however, an owner purchased it, and it's been re-roofed, re-windowed, and brought it right up to Scott.
Do you remember which one of these addresses is the property located over by First Tee on the south side
Yes.
of 62? Because
That is
That is,
2350 26th Street, I believe.
I'm gonna move on 4A through G and then I through S, given H is stricken.
I'll second that.
From the discussion aspect, I was talking to folks over at First Tee today, as well as the county treasurer, because they've expressed an interest from the beginning to acquire that through the land bank, through the side lot program. It's been brought to our attention, though, too, the county has initiated foreclosure action on that property.
Okay.
So I asked the county how that happened, given this list was submitted upfront, regional planning, managing it for all of the properties. I would ask that you follow with Alex to see what we need to do, either in their foreclosure process or us withdrawing this and replacing it with another property, so we best use those resources we've committed for demoing blighted properties, because Alex indicated that there's potentially a way where they can take it through foreclosure process. The land bank can actually take possession of it and then still get it over to First Tee. And my take is, I don't know, being one of the three, we've committed $100,000, it's doubled to $200,000. I'd rather us tackle another blighted property in lieu of this. I just think our resources would be better spent if that's the case.
Okay, well, I'll check that out.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
That concludes zoning. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. We'll go to Parks and Facilities.
Mr. President, Parks and Facilities, number one is the monthly report. I'd just like to go on the record again and thank Joe and his entire crew for all the work that they have helped us with. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kids School Park Program.
Gentlemen, before you this evening, the only thing I have is the monthly report.
The grass is growing in this park. Are we going to reopen that?
I think we're talking about things.
well, we can, yes, it's Mr. Steinberg and I's opinion that we should open the large dog park and people use it, with their,
The small
I'm sorry, the
one is
small, I
split.
don't mean to guess, the small split, people use it with caution. We have kept researching it daily. Rob has made the phone calls to the Ohio Department of Agriculture. And I don't think that we're gonna ever have a for certain reason or of what has happened, what the illness was. There have been no cases in several weeks here that have been confirmed.
Correct.
So,
Basically, what they said at the ODA the last time we spoke is that no reported cases have shown in a couple weeks. The testing has gone back out to UC Davis for a different direction. They only found 2 of 36 cases that were positive suspect of circovirus. And obviously we're all aware of the report from Detroit, and they were confused as to how quickly they came to that decision and what methods they took to come to that decision, because in 3 months of testing with the ODA and UC Davis, there's been no conclusive evidence. So I'd say, with respect to our facilities and grounds manager's decision, it would be my opinion to go ahead and open it, and much like us, when we go to a mall or a public place, you use discretion when you take your dogs to a public place and they go in.
Yeah, it could be months and months or never till there's anything definitive. And the other local dog parks are taking the same stance to use with caution.
We're going to have to run probably snow fencing through the middle of the small dog park, because we are going to make sure that we keep the dogs separate, the small dogs from the large dogs.
Is that going to be a safe enough barrier? I mean,
It's going to take some good ownership also.
Yeah.
People-
It defines the line, and I think it's,
We're going to have to purchase some more posts to make sure that the fence is up solid. Could take a little work to get it to where we need it, so. I don't want you to think we can open this up tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to take.
And the users of our dog parks, they're there with their dog, with their animal, they're interactive. So I think with what we'll put in place and some very good stewardship and ownership, we'll be okay. Yes.
Okay, Eric, we moved your subject to unfinished business, the wall director.
Great.
Number 1.
Thank you.
And that is the foreclosure amendment law.
Yes, sir. I know that you're aware, and you've seen in the paper what the city of Canton has done. We've talked before about what the city of North Canton done. Lou, I know this has been near and dear to your heart in terms of trying to get something going here. I want to just go over a couple of things. One, obviously, we're not a municipality or a township. We've kind of been through that with property maintenance code. 2, I want to talk about some things that if you want to keep pressing on this front, the 3 of you, that we need to be aware of and we need to make sure we take into consideration. And first and foremost, I think, is that in every place that I've seen this operate, the city of North Canton does something a little bit different. The city of Canton is I mean, it's hardcore. $10,000 bond and all that kind of stuff. They also have, though, a fair housing director who oversees it. They've got a department that oversees it. We really aren't set up or equipped to say, oh, well, we've got zoning, so we'll just make it. To me, it seems like it might necessitate some more manpower. So when you're talking about the reasons for doing it, that comes into play. But I think most importantly, what I wanted to say about it was, it's my understanding that when we have done what we've done with regard to abatements, that typically we've been repaid in that process a year. There, it's good timing. A year in arrears as far as getting paid on those properties. I don't think we have a huge outstanding delinquency in terms of dollar amount. I mean, I think it takes a while to catch up, but I think it typically does. If you put something like this in place, I just want you to be aware going forward, they are going to complicate things a little bit in terms of the simple and kind of streamlined 505 abatement process we have now becomes an issue of, okay, now we've got notice to whom and at what time. When are we doing lien searches in the process, and who's coming up as the owner at the time you do the lien search, because it could change shortly thereafter. This is one of those I may suggest, let somebody nearby like Canton experiment with this thing, watch and see how it goes, because remember what you're talking about, these things move quickly. You could do a lien search today, we could hire our people to go down and find out who the property owner is today. It may say Mary whatever. A week from now, that property could be in foreclosure. Doesn't mean she's lost title technically at that point in time. So a week from now you could run it, it says Mary. That goes through the process of maybe a default judgment and a judgment entry and a sheriff's sale. So who holds it in the interim? Is it the bank? Is it the property owner? Is it the new owner who buys it at sheriff's sale, and when will we know about that? How do we set up a system so we're notified along the way? I just want you to be aware it's a pretty complicated process. I think you could probably put something in effect if you wanted to that had some kind of a listing requirement. I do think the enforcement would be difficult. I think, you know, to have people register, to say to banks, you're going to register when you, let's say they file a foreclosure proceeding. You're going to, I can promise you with the bigger banks, you're going to get into the left hand not knowing what the right hand's doing, and the title company's not going to know that that foreclosure was even filed, most likely. So I know that this is something that you guys are looking at and wanted to talk about, but I just wanted to put those issues on the table for your kind of discussion, whatever way you want to go.
You know, the foreclosures are filed, those are usually on record at the clerk of courts.
They are.
See, what's happening, and I think, Denny, I think you probably can speak to this, about 90% or better of these abatements that we do are vacant, foreclosed on homes.
Well, we know they're vacant.
Okay. And what's happening, if you read the Can article, which I think is pretty similar to what's going on here, the city, I mean, bank files the foreclosure. They get the people out of the house, and then they withdraw the foreclosure, leave the title in the person's house that they evicted.
Right.
And that gets them out of the tax issues, the abatement issues, the maintenance issues. I think Luther sent us some figures, and I think we were about $54,000 right now this year.
Right.
Just in nuisance abatement costs.
Right.
100 some. From
Did anybody pull last year to see how a year behind, how that catch-up plays
I
out?
think right now we're about $34,000, I think, behind.
On top of the
This year.
Is that
So
about
that's pretty substantial.
Sure.
Even if we hired a part-time person to do those lien searches and to assist Denny with the tracking of these things, if there's a way that we can go, I've been saying this all along, if we can go after the bank and make the bank responsible for what they've created,
Right.
and in a lot of cases, and I think they found a loophole around taking full responsibility for the property they've taken over. That shouldn't be the taxpayers and the township's responsibility. We need to find some way to do this. If we're spending $50,000 to $80,000, and normally we don't get that money until the house is sold.
Right.
And if we look at what we got here tonight, there was 18 properties we're tearing down. And how many times have we mowed those properties and abated each one of those that we're never going to collect that money back? And probably pretty much I would say a safe bet, probably 80 or 90% of these houses have probably been through a foreclosure process that we'll find out still in the person's name that they evicted.
Well, that's two things that I would say. One is, if you're thinking about even hiring some kind of a, or even contracting it out, I don't know that you have to hire an employee necessarily, but some kind of an independent contractor to do lien searches, to assist in drive-bys or whatever it is, that I think would help alleviate some of the problem with enforcement. And then the second thing is, I've just got to go through 504 and make sure we can do it. That would be the second thing. And I definitely would not think we would have the authority to do kind of the full-scale assault that Canton has done, but if we have authority, I think it would be to do more of the listing like we've talked about, Libby, you and I privately.
Yes.
So let me, with an eye towards that hiring of the person, that's how I'll draft the legislation if you guys want me to, once I go through 504 and make sure we're okay. Is that what you guys want me to do? Okay.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Sure.
Okay, let's go to communications, Lisa.
Thank you. I have one item under communications, and it is a letter from Larry Powell, who is the president of the Northeast Developmental Services Incorporated, and it reads, Dear Plain Township Fire Station Number 5, I wanted to take the time to send my personal thanks for bringing the fire truck out for the dedication of the Jack J. Calhoun Jr. Memorial Field. The dedication was an amazing success, as everyone had a great time celebrating the life of a man who did so much for everyone in attendance. We enjoyed each other's company, ate, danced, and most importantly, played ball. There were countless smiles that day, and we appreciate the part you played in making that happen. Thanks to the t-shirts, we'll be able to remember this special day for a long time. We look forward to the many years of playing baseball and spending time with our friends. Thank you again. Sincerely, Larry Powell.
Nice. Nothing else? Now we come to the portion for public speaks. Like I said, I know there's a lot of people from the homeowners associations here to speak to the board about the Edgewood Golf Course. If you want to address the board, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, please come forward to the podium and speak clearly your name and address to the fiscal officer so we can make sure he gets that clearly for the record. And before you leave, if you could, if you speak tonight, also write your name and address on the sign-in sheet at the back of the room so we can verify everything. And again, I want to remind everybody, we do have the 3-minute rule, so.
You know, I have that in my notes. My name's Bill Fallon. My wife and I are residents, I'm sorry, 6919 Deer Trail Avenue.
What's your last name?
Fallon, that is in Frank, F-A-L-L-O-N. And my wife and I have been residents of Plain Township for 8 years now. We actually call it our home. Myself, I'm from a military family. I've moved 26, 27 times in my lifetime. This is now my home. I know there's a protocol is 3 minutes, and I'm going to ask for just a little bit of a leeway in that because I'm going to speak for a group. I've been asked to speak on behalf of the committee to save the Edgewood Golf Course. We are a committee of concerned citizens whose immediate goal is to save this precious piece of land that has been a part of this community for 91 years. Once this land is destroyed, be it by development or closure, it doesn't matter. It's gone, never to be gotten back. Our longer-term goal, because we are not a short-sighted committee, and this is really despite what you may have read in the local press. It's not about $1 million view out the back of the golf course. Because my $1 million view out of the back of the golf course is of a tractor trailer. It's parked behind the church. Now, yeah, I get some trees in there, and I can see the key box, but I also have a tractor trailer. So why we're kind of here is that we do want to stress that we're very much about preserving the character of Plain Township. I was reading through the mini master plan, and I even heard tonight about a dog park. And we have a dog park for big dogs, and we have a dog park for little dogs. That's not something that happens overnight. That's something that people put thought into, and that's important. And that's the kind of character that Plain Township is. This is not Canton. This is not North Canton. This is Plain Township. And that's incredibly important to all of us. And it has a unique character, and we want to save it. One of the things that we're going to ask, and we take this very seriously, and we know it's a huge request, but we're going to ask that the Parks Department seriously consider buying the land and maintaining it as a golf course. There are a lot of other things you can do with this property. I mean, you can put in a soccer field where the driving range is. You know, if those of us who are around the area, you can see the, what they call it, the ski mobiles that in the winter going through there. Not the best thing for a golf course, but you can certainly do cross-country skiing. We can do a lot of other things with that property, in addition to leaving it as a golf course. We believe that this is the right approach. We also believe that the Plain Township Comprehensive Mini Master Plan supports our course of action. If you'll indulge me again, I promise not to read all 61 pages of the document. But I'm going to take little snippets out, talk about them briefly, and then thank you for your time. In the introduction, it states that current land use and zoning maps outline a high percentage of increasingly low-density, single-family resident development, which combined with the economic decline further confirms an ongoing suburban sprawl pattern within the township. If left uncontrolled, this trend will mean a loss of all viable open space in the next 5 to 10 years. I plan to be a resident of Plain Township for more than 10 years. Under the land use planning goals of the mini plan, one of them is to maintain the sound revenue base for the township through the appropriate use of balanced land uses. And I think we're like, what, 80-20 now, something like that? And our goal is to be 70-30, meaning 70% residential, 30% commercial, industrial, or other. And if that golf course is developed for whatever reason, and especially residential, it kicks our 80% up higher. So we're actually going in the wrong direction of what this master plan tells us we should be doing. The other thing is, one of the goals is also to encourage the development patterns that include the dedication of quality open space and preserve green space. And I can assure you there's nothing more green than a golf course. Under this plan, there's some service goals. And I put an asterisk by this one, because I want to kind of come back to this if I can. And it talks about service goals, and I think service is the most important thing. But it talks about the Parks Department should explore creative funding, mechanisms to provide revenue for Plain Township and the Recreation Department. It talks about further development and grow the Friends of Plain Parks organization. And it talks about offering free family events through the Parks and Recreation Committee. Now, I'll just ask you to hold on to that thought for a second. Land use capacity. It talks about the previous plan, which I believe was in 2002, that there were 3,800 acres available in the township for development. In the last 10 years, we've lost 2,400 acres. We've also lost the population of about 650 people. Again, what this means, and this is according to the mini master plan, is that the township has experienced suburban sprawl at a very rapid pace. And if not controlled, the township could lose all remaining developable land in the next 5 to 10 years. That's twice in one document. It has mentioned losing all of our open space in the next 5 to 10 years. Parks and open space. Snyder Park, great thing. Brings our parkland amount to 102 acres. Previous recommendations have been at least 16 to 18 acres per 1,000 residents. Given our population, we should be at 558 to 628 acres. We're nowhere near that. Priority planning issues. Talks about maintaining residential property. I happened to find the initial listing for my house when it was built. I didn't build it. Somebody else did. Somebody else bought it. 2001, that house was selling for $145 a square foot. Just this past month, I had the exact same agent who listed the house in 2001 come to my house and give me an appraisal. Tell me, what do you think this thing is worth if I wanted to sell it? You know what they told me? $100 a square foot. That's a 31% decline in value. That, to me, is frightening. The Plain Township strategies and development policies states Plain Township should explore purchasing additional land in order to provide more township-owned parks and facilities. That, to me, is excellent. Again, my wife and I, we're not from this area. So we're kind of the new kids. But I'll tell you, we hear a lot. And we've heard a lot about projects started that were never finished. We've heard about projects that were started and then sold to other developers. let somebody else finish. We've seen luxury apartments, that out your bedroom window, you see the back of an auto parts store. These are the kind of things that cause us concern. There's a senior living project of some sort that's supposed to go in the sanctuary by the bobolink barn or something, but I don't know the specifics, but I know it's never happened. I'm going to end here, and I realize what I'm asking you. And I'm asking you a lot for this committee. But we go back to my little asterisk, and I talk about service. And I want to leave you with, we the committee to save Edgewood Golf Course can offer Plain Township nothing more than our time, our effort, our energy, and our undying commitment to this township. Thank you.
Just so the board knows, I did meet with the group, association group. I did bring back your figures from the golf course and shared them with both of the other members. And I also gave a copy to Rob Steinberg, our, I would like to call for our park programming guru, to dissect those numbers and look at the viability of what the group is asking for. I asked Rob to look at those briefly. It's going to take, like I said the other night, it's probably going to take several weeks for him to be able to give us an honest assessment of what the long-term viability for the community is concerned. Because the one, like I said the other evening, the township needs to be very careful that we don't get into a predicament where we are coming back to the homeowners of the entire community and asking them to support our existing parks on top of the golf course. Historically, golf courses haven't worked out very well municipally owned. I think that in this area, I'm not speaking that there's probably other areas north of us that they've done quite well. But I want Rob to take the time to give his honest view of what the long-term viability and what the impact it's going to have on the township as a whole, beyond just the use of the golf course, financially. And I think Rob is going to be very capable, and I'll let Rob address some of the things maybe that he has on his mind that he prepared in a short period of time that he's had to look at them so far.
Sure, at the end of the day, it's going to take me, given our scheduled events in the next 5 weeks, probably about 4 to 5 weeks to delve through those numbers, look at them very specifically. I have to tell you, initially speaking, looking at the numbers, I'm a little concerned, but I'm being told that some of the property taxes and things of that nature can be a bit misleading in what the value is and what the revenue streams are. So my goal, and I will say this up front and on the record, I very rarely tell people what they want to hear, but I'll be 100% honest in what I find. My goal is to find the long-term stability of the property, be it as a golf course first and foremost, but what else they can be used for. I know you mentioned soccer field. There's a few possibilities that would be viable to look at for long-term stability and growth and management of. So allow me, I'm going to say between 4 to 5 weeks to get through the event schedule that we have and have the time to look at those in all seriousness as opposed to glancing over them and making a decision that would be a bit short-sighted. And then when we come to you, we will come to you with definitive answers and reasons behind those answers at that time.
I think just to play off the numbers, when you refer to the acreage of green space, what also that master plan talks to is total green space, which I know it goes on to further talk about the green space within the schools, those fields and recreational areas, but as well some of the adjoining communities, parks within a reasonable distance. So I mean, those are factors that absolutely have to be taken into consideration too and evaluated.
I think what we need to do is have an honest assessment done and see what can be done. You coming to us and asking us for this request isn't unreasonable for a citizens group to do, but we need to make sure that we know what we're looking at before we can even begin to make that decision.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's all we're asking.
okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody else, before we move on to another subject, does anybody else wish to speak in the subject for the Edgewood Golf Course? Okay. Does anybody else wish to address the board on any other issue?
Good evening. My name's Dawn Campanelli, 7108 Chatfield, Chatfield Avenue Northeast, 44721. I'd like to address the board in regards to temporary signs throughout our township. We've been working with Denny and have notified him on September 27 of many signs, political in nature, regarding the election that are in the township right of way. If you'd like, I can educate you in regards to your sign permit or sign resolution as it relates to the township. Temporary signs are not permitted in the right-of-way, and political signs or any temporary sign or any sign of that nature requires permission of the property owner in order to be posted. We have made notification in regards to areas where those are in violation. I don't think it is a necessity for township residents to have to come to you with every address when all of us are cognizant of what a right-of-way is and where signs should and should not be posted. I think it's disrespectful of township trustees that are running for re-election that with knowledge would stick signs where they are illegal. But on other occasions, you're going to prolificate and even quote yourselves as being against commercial properties that want to use their vehicles for illegal signage. So you can't have it both ways. You want to promote that you're honesty and integrity, then you should do the right thing, you should follow the law, not be above the law. And again, the signs are not creating a nuisance that is incorrect, that creates a safety hazard. And we did check with other townships as well as with the county engineer's office, and they further educated us that your new policy, Denny, with regards to creating a nuisance situation would be incorrect. That's just creating more red tape, creating a process by which 30 days would go by, and you wouldn't have to address the issue of the illegal signs in the right-of-way. So we don't appreciate the runaround. We need to do the right thing. We shouldn't have to keep coming up here and making this public knowledge for you to have to do the right thing. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to address the board? Okay, that will close public speaks. I want to thank everybody that came out from the group, from Edgewood, people who came out for the other issues. Again, if there's anything that you need in the meantime, feel free to give any of us a call in regards to the process and how far along we are with Rob will work on this, because I was surprised he got as far through it as he did already to this point when I talked to him this morning, knowing that you folks were going to be here. But it's something, your request, we're going to look at seriously. All right. Scott, you want to go with yours first?
Yeah, guys, just as a reminder, the Stark County Township Association meeting is going to be Thursday, October 17th, 6:30. Lexington Township's hosting it. Come December, we're actually going to be looking for nominations for folks to actually run the Township Association.
Can I renominate?
No, I've done my 2 years. I'm going to gracefully step down from that. So at this meeting, we're going to bring up if there's future elections, but as always, these monthly meetings are intended to educate us on what's happening. We address some of the legislative issues. I know specifically during this meeting, I think as Lisa said, I saw an email, and I know I've reached out to Slesmig, Shuren, and Olslegger on getting the townships better representation when it comes to these annexation battles, because right now the language is not specifically, I think, in the type 2. I've had limited response myself, but we're going to speak to that and see if we can drum up some more calls down to Columbus, because we know we're always on the short end of the stick when it comes to annexation situations. But I think that's where, examples of our proactive engagement to collaborate with other communities like this proposed economic development area also speak well, so.
Well, just as, I think all of us know up here, I mean, we have full-time jobs during the day. And when an individual like Scott takes on the responsibility, not only of being an elected official here, but took on the responsibility to also serve and represent Plain Township in the Stark County Township Associations, not only as a member, but as the president, organizing that group and putting things together like we're talking about right now, because he's really our eyes and ears in that association when it comes to helping us come together at the table and talk about things like we're going to be talking about here on the 30th, which is that four-way joint economic agreement with North Canton, Canton, Jackson, and Plain. It's unprecedented for four communities of this size to actually sit down at the table and come to an agreement politically to put, I think in better words, turfism aside, and even across the political divide. Because there's a lot of differences between our communities, personalities, and political philosophies. And I think a lot of what happened in the last couple of weeks and what's going to happen here is because of some of the ground that Scott made fertile with the association. So you're not going to do it again. Thanks for doing it. But you did a great job representing Plain Township on that association. You really did. The one thing I want to bring under concerns of trustees is the zipper dish homeowners. I did receive a phone call. I just spoke with Joe and Lisa today. Eric, I don't know if you've been with Lisa. One homeowner primarily that lives where Salway dead ends into his driveway. I think everybody that's been associated with the administration is very familiar with this property over the years. Every time it rains, this house is engulfed in water. And it's probably one of the houses that should be included in that list that either the county is doing or the city of North Canton is doing. But Joe said there might be some other houses going the other direction that probably should be looked at about being added to that also. And I don't have those addresses.
There's 3 or 4 homes on Orchardale. You remember the day, the last one, you were there? You were walking.
Yeah. No, I was in one lady's house up to my chest and water was unbelievable.
There's a home on Arboretum Circle that somehow got on this North Canton list. I guess the resident did a phone call to Kurt Schuring to get that, and she is on this first list. I talked to the county engineer's office, and there is another list being created. What this means for the board of trustees, I'm not sure. Participation, you have to have.
The reason why I'm going to ask this is because if there's any way that we can assist these homeowners in getting those homes put on the list every time it rains, they're underwater. And it was my understanding the more phone calls that they get from not just a trustee, trustees. I would like for both of you also to contact State Representative Kurt Schuring and express the importance of getting these people added to this list. And what they're basically doing, they're buying back the properties at market value, and they're going to demo them, and they're going to donate it to the Stark Parks.
Pretty much what they did with
And
our
also
pathway.
Sarah
Yeah.
Buell, remember you,
Yes.
Sarah Buell also for Stark Parks. So the key is getting those people in contact with Kurt Schuring and Sarah Buell.
I mean, the 1 year, chief, we couldn't get a fire truck out to that house on Salray to get the people out of the house. It was so deep. And
It's county property, it's in the township.
yes, and we need to do whatever we can to help these people in Plain the same way the city of North Canton did. And if we got to start making phone calls to Schuring, Slesnick, Goldslager, Kenyon, the whole 9 yards, to help these people get their homes added to this list, we got to do it because they shouldn't have to plan their vacations around thunderstorms and going out to dinner and stuff like that. I couldn't live under that situation knowing if it was going to rain. I was going to get water in my basement each time it rained. So we need to do whatever we can to help these people out. Anybody got anything else? I'll get you both the addresses, so when you call, and Joe, if you can give me the other addresses.
Yes, I can do it.
Go to the approval of the regular meeting minutes of September 24th, 2013.
Also move.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Gevasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And I will also move the minutes of the special meeting of October 1st, 2013.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Gevasis?
Yes. Okay, there is a need for an executive session. Be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:03 p.m. from this regular meeting of October 8th as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose and consideration of 1B, employment of a public employer official, 1E, promotion of a public employer official, 1F, compensation of a public employer official, and 3, conference with the law director or other counsel concerning pending or imminent court action.
Second?
Any discussion? None, roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Gevasis?
Yes.